Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining the Finjan Show. I'm your host, Faris Alami, and I'm really excited to have a conversation with Marty Strong. We'll jump right in. This podcast is brought to you this time with International Strategic Management and Entrepreneurship and Small Business Development Program. I happen to be the founder of it, so honored to be here with you today. And we're going to dive into this conversation. Marty, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Faris.
Yeah, so what an interesting background, Marty. Maybe you could tell the audience who may not know who Marty is, who you are and what you do in a brief
Sure.
fashion.
So I spent 20 years in the Navy SEAL teams. I retired as an officer. I went into managing money with the United Bank of Switzerland for about 8 years after retiring from the Navy. And then I went into working in corporate America, mostly in the training and security areas, and started writing books along those lines. And then about 10 years ago, I became a CEO, and now I'm the CEO of a middle market healthcare company.
Wow, what a journey. There's so much. I'm not sure if we need a few days to unfold all this stuff. So my attitude has always been, first of all, thank you for your service. That when you are in a Navy or in a government capacity, a lot of times you're boxed into certain things to do and say and feel certain ways. And I'm curious, how were you able to ignite your entrepreneurial spirit upon leaving versus finding, just one more job that's maybe for large corporations or institutions?
I think I was lucky because in the special operations community, they select you for your creativity and your innovation and your intellect. And that's how you're originally selected. And then they teach you how to do everything else after that. So what you end up with is a group of basically college athletes who all have very high IQs, who are all very artistic and willing to gamble and try and take risks, but calculated risks. So that experience of 20 years made it very easy to understand, entrepreneurial spirit, risk taking. The difference there, though, is that you get the resources handed to you when you're a Navy SEAL. And, when you're in business in the commercial world, you don't get the resources handed to you. You have to either create them out of whole cloth, build it from scratch. You might be employee number one for a while. And I've gone that full gambit. I've been employee number one up to in charge of 7 companies. And right now I'm back down to in charge of just one company. And I'm kind of back down into the nuts and bolts, the trench work of small business. So it doesn't go away, it doesn't change. It's the same thing. You just have to kind of roll with it.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And I'm curious, you started, if I remember correctly, writing first, right? That was your first pathway for entrepreneurship after the corporate world, or
No, I started writing in 2017,
okay.
and I've got 9 novels. I'm getting ready to finish my 10th novel, and I've got 3 business books. The business books are oriented towards what I learned helping, mentoring, coaching other leaders, mostly middle market and small kind of scaling businesses that were going from startup to the next level. And I wanted to kind of capture those thoughts, and that's what those 3 business books cover.
Hmm. Yeah, and then you said novels. You were on the ninth one. Is that what you said?
The 10th one right now. Yeah.
What are you cranking? What, one a month, almost every other month?
No, no, no. It's I write every morning starting about 5:30. I write for about an hour, and I write 7 days a week. And it takes about 120 days to get the first draft out, and then another 2 months to finish the second draft. And the more you write, the better you get at writing kind of quality right up front in first draft. So they're all the 9 were published, and there's 2 different series involved in the 9 novels, and all the proceeds go to the SEAL Veterans Foundation. I only make money off of the business books, but I like writing the novels. They're a lot of fun. They're very cathartic.
That's great. Well, thank you again. Now, one thing you mentioned that you're right now running a health care company. So you want to tell the audience what it is and what it's all about?
Sure, it's called Legacy Care. I bought the company about 7 years ago. I had 1 employee and 26 doctors and nurses. Now we have about 93, 94 doctors and nurses and about 19 employees. It's essentially a medical staffing entity, but it also does some oversight management and making sure that our clients have all the care coverage they need, because it's kind of hard to get good quality doctors and nurses. So that's what we kind of started from scratch. And then I handed it to a president in the very beginning. I've had like 3 or 4 presidents over the ensuing 7 years. The last president retired, so I stepped in because this was the last company in this enterprise I was in charge of. And like I said, I'm kind of sucked right back into the day-to-day blocking and tackling. I go out and do cold calls. It's been a long time, but I go and knock on doors, introduce myself and introduce the company. And it's interesting. It's not humbling because I've already been there before, but it's doesn't matter who you are, how long you've been doing business, what your degrees are. If you want to make it work as an entrepreneur, you got to get out there and do all the right things.
Yeah, I always tell people you got to embrace the no's because, for every no you get, it's just one closer towards that yes that you may get.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, so Marty, I mean, this is actually a great segue. So entrepreneurship, as you know, it's a journey, I will say, and there are ups and downs, and some of the times the ups and downs are the same moments. I'm curious through your journeys, and maybe you could talk about this one now that you're back diving into it. Maybe one of the moments where you felt it is so good, you finally made it, it's going to open up the doors, you're just basically touching the sky and things are happening. Maybe you could just share one of those moments where you felt you've arrived.
It's a consistent moment. It's kind of spans across maybe 4 or 5 different companies in my experience. But it's the moment where you turn the corner, where you go from concept idea, high risk initial startup, and you've got your first significant client or the next significant client that makes you a real business that can be sustainable. There's a moment where that happens where it's almost like making a touchdown in football or something. You did it. It's working. It's like watching an invention actually work the way it's been designed, and that's a thrill that never goes away.
Fantastic. So when do you feel like, I know you said it happens all the time. When was the last time that happened to you?
Probably about say 5 years ago when the healthcare company kind of turned that corner. I think that was when it really became popular and it became attractive, and big hospital systems started calling us up saying, "Hey, we want your guys to be doing this for us." And when the market's pulling you in like that, you know that you arrived in a new place.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. Marty, thank you so much. What I'd love to do is, if you're okay, we're going to take a short break and we'll be right back to continue this conversation. So much to learn from Marty. Thank you for being here. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, and thank you for being here. I'm Faris Alami, the host of the Finjan Show, and today we're having a conversation with Marty. What an interesting journey, Marty. So you shared with us some of your highs. As you know, sometimes there are lots of lower moments that we may feel like the world is ending. What's my backup plan, or what's my exit strategy, or what am I going to do if this doesn't work out? I'm curious, Marty. And you might have, to your point, you might have had this several times. Maybe you could share one specific one for the audience to help them understand how that works and how do you go out of it?
Sure, it's the bad hire story. And in this case, it'd be the bad hire that you've delegated leadership to your baby because you can't do it all by yourself anymore. Usually it's a self-starting entrepreneur. They're everything, right? They're chief cook, bottle washer. They open and close every day. They do the books, take the cash to the bank and all that. But at some point, if you start scaling, you have to let go of the steering wheel. You have to let somebody else start to do things. And if you even get further down the road of success, there's a point where you need somebody else to be running kind of the management of things. And I made a significant bad hire, maybe more than one, but I made a couple that were those critical, pivotal senior people that affect everybody in that organizational structure below them, intellectually, creatively, and emotionally. And a lot of times people, you can't see that if you're on the outside. You delegate, and the person is giving you the thumbs up, everything's going great according to plan. All the people working for them are afraid, or they don't want to say anything. And then when you start to see the edges crack and you start to get the information, you look into it, by then there's so much damage done. And I've had to go in and do repair work after the fact, where something clean and good and operating really well was actually perverted and converted and kind of trashed by that kind of negative personality. So that's the downside. That's the worst side. And every entrepreneur listening to this knows when that moment happens, they're scared to death. It's like the first time you hand your child off for somebody else to watch as a babysitter or something. You're thinking about it all the time.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, I'm sorry that you had to face that. Unfortunately, as you grow, as you stated it, the more you grow, the more chances of these things happening. And it's just part of the deal, right? You can't
Yeah.
You can't.
You can't
No,
be
you can
everywhere
try
and
to.
do everything.
No, you cannot. I mean, you can. It's just you'll never grow. It's be a one man or one person show for life. And if you
Right.
want to grow, you gotta be able to dedicate. And unfortunately, most times your people, entrepreneurs and people are really good. It's just occasionally you get that one bad apple that it potentially make you want to protect everything again. But as long as you're open, I love your insights on that. Thank you so much. Well, Marty, it's hard to go back. You've been doing this for a long time. If you were go back to yourself, 10, 15, 20 years ago when you started doing all this entrepreneurial activities, I also people, it's hard to reflect back because your thoughts today, your knowledge today, your network today, all the things that you have is completely different than when you were 10, 15, 20, or even 2 years ago. And if you were to go back and advise, not to say that anyone would listen, right? But what would you tell your younger you starting a business today or jumping in this entrepreneurial journey? What would you leave one or two thoughts for them to think about behind?
I'd say two things that I think are critical that I'd tell the young Marty. First, that all the leadership that you learned in the Navy, it conveys in life, it conveys in business. Being a good leader, taking care of your people, caring, about doing the right thing, being honest. All those things are really, really valuable, and they're not something you can trade off for other advantages. You can't do that. If you stay uncorruptible along those lines, people will follow you, people will give you the time of day, people will lend money to you, and people will buy from you. The second thing is that whatever you do, whatever you try, don't look at it as the be all end all. If you fail, that your life's over, that everything you've thought of and done before that or going forward is going to be a failure. You have to think of everything as an experiment. And lots and lots of, I think it was Edison that said, I tried 99 different ways to make a light bulb, and all I did was prove 99 different ways not to make a light bulb. And then the 100th time I made a light bulb. So you have to think of life that way. Try it. If it doesn't work out, take a deep breath, suck all the lessons you can out of that experience, move on to the next project. Don't let the project's failure actually beat you down and give you some false impression of your value, your worth, or the opportunity to take a risk in the future.
Wow, there is so much to unfold there, Marty, and I'm surprised you didn't say be nimble because that seemed like everywhere I looked at your.
Gratuitous pitch for my book.
Yeah, this seems like everywhere I looked at your document, and when I was reading, it was like be nimble, be nimble, be nimble. So, but that's great. Why not? It's a book of yours. That's one of them at least, right?
Yes.
So that's great. Thank you so much, Marty, for making the time. What a great conversation to have with you. Honored to be here with you. Thanks for making the time.
Thanks for having me, Faris.
Those who are listening, I'm Faris Alami, the host of Finjan Show. Until next time.